my neighborhood. There's no cars behind my house, no one driving past. It's situated where that's really not likely. So I got up, I ran, and I checked. There was nothing there. The day later, I went out to eat with two friends of mine up the road, and I came home and my wife was crying. I came home a little late. We had a couple drinks. And I thought she was upset because I stayed out later than I told her. I was like an hour and a half later. And I said, "What's wrong?" I said, "You mad at me because I was out late?" And she's like, "No." And I'm like, "Then what's the problem?" She's like, "I don't want to talk about it." Finally, after like 15 or 20 minutes of prying it out of her, she said something grabbed her leg.
Holy shit.
And she was sitting on the couch. And she saw, now I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I'm actually getting a little creeped out again. She said she saw what appeared to be someone a shadow figure crouching behind the other side of the couch. So at that point, I had enough. I mean, there were things that I had experienced, which I tried to brush off. And, if it was just my experiences, I wouldn't have given it any thought. But between my son, myself, and now my wife, so I had just called the paranormal investigators, and they decided to come to the house. The first investigation that they did, they performed like a 4-hour investigation. I mean, these people had thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And they do it pro bono. They don't charge anybody anything. 2 weeks later, the guy called me, and I was down the shore. Is everyone there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. 2 weeks later, the guy called me, and I was down the shore on a vacation with my family. And he's like, "I'm going to send you some pictures." And I sent the picture to Johnny. I edited a little bit, a picture frame in the background, and the individual who was performing the investigation, I put Pepe on his face, but there's clearly an apparition above his head.
Yep.
And it looked like a wolf.
Can we, is there any discerning details? Would we be able to put this up when the show goes out?
Sure.
Yeah, I've got the picture in
awesome.
in a DM. Yeah, I'll send it.
Sure.
We'll get it up there.
Thank you.
It's OPSEC, so yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
It was pretty, it made me sick when I saw it, because it confirmed what I was hoping wasn't true. They said that they believed that there were 4 spirits in the house at the time. They did their investigation on the house, and the owners, prior to the owners that owned it before me, they used it as a halfway house. It was discovered that they had children chained in the basement.
Oh, Jesus.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were some very upset people here. The one woman that they believe was in the house was the owner's mother, who died in the house. The people that bought it before we bought it, she died in this house, and she was a nasty woman. And she didn't like when my wife reprimanded the children. So that was that sickening feeling that my wife would get when she would yell at the kids. Like, she felt like someone was watching her and telling her, "You really shouldn't be doing this." They did their investigation. They did a lot of technological work. They had cameras set up, motion detectors. They said the most activity that they got was in my son's room. You'd hear inaudible voices. You'd see the motion detector go off constantly. And then they did the EVPs.
Sorry, they did the what?
The EVPs?
Electronic voice phenomena.
Right.
Doesn't that basically work by using some very sensitive audio equipment to basically pick up minute electromagnetic fluctuations, stuff like that?
I don't understand the technical aspect of it, but I know what came across, and that scared the hell out of me. There was one voice of a woman that said, "Dear God, please help us." There was another voice of a man who, it was a stereotypical growl. He growled. And so they decided that they were going to get some removers, some mediums, to come in. We went through 3 mediums to try to get rid of these entities. The first two said that the first one said that they were hiding, and that he couldn't get a hold of them. They did not want him there, and they hid from him. The second one got a hold of him, and by the time he was done, he said he was so exhausted he couldn't do it anymore. And the third one finally came in. and they said that this guy is a remover. He's very strong. I don't know much about it, but they said he's very strong and he can be very confrontational.
Now, were these removers, were they religious people, or were they just?
And to scare my son again, my son said that he had came across an object taller than me. Now, mind you, I'm 6'4", and he said it looked.
What?
You know, he's a little boy, and he had come across something in the kitchen that the best way he could describe it was that it was a large black Doritos bag.
Whoa.
That's he said it was all. The exact words he used verbatim. He said, "Daddy, it was all crinkly." And it was. He said it was.
Hell?
He said it was bigger than you, Daddy.
All right, now I'm spooked.
Right. So at that point, I had gotten so mad, I went to every floor of the house and I challenged it. Like, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Like I had enough. Every floor, on basement, the main floor. The floor with our bedrooms, and then the attic. I got so mad I picked up my bed, I slammed it, and I broke the frame of the bed, and nothing. That night I went to sleep, and something picked my arm up and put it on the other side of my body.
Like moved your arm across your chest or whatever?
Moved my arm across my chest.
Now, I'm assuming you're not the sort of person to move in your sleep on your own.
No, I'm pretty still. My wife is the one who kicks the hell out of me at night. But that was kind of like, in my opinion, that was like, we're still here, buddy. Sorry, we're not going anywhere. So this is what happened in between the mediums, and the final medium came in. He was of a Christian-based faith. And he said that there were 7 spirits in the house, not 3. He said there were 7. He couldn't identify all of them. He said, but the one that he was most sure of was the woman of the owner previous to us who died in the house. And there was a man, and he was the ringleader, and he was actually keeping them there against their will. None of them were mean-spirited outside of him. He said the other ones were just there.
Suffering.
Right, they were just there. He said that he believes that the one who actually hit my son in the arm was one of the little children that they kept here, and he was trying to play with my son, which actually made me feel really bad. At that point I was sad, even though it scared my son, it broke my heart to know that there was a child here like that suffering. So
So to recap, the original owners were using it as a halfway house, but there was some shady stuff going on. I'm assuming we're talking a halfway house for this would have been the 1950s or so.
Roughly 60, yeah, let's say 1962.
So we're going to have halfway house. That time, you're going to have not only drug addicts, but you're going to have the mentally ill. You're going to have, your decently high-functioning schizophrenics that can't be on their own. You're going to have children with severe mental illness, probably the ones they were keeping chained up in the basement.
Right.
Just, a whole lot of people there really against their will, no fault of their own. And then afterwards, once it's done from the halfway house, there's a mean-spirited woman that passed away in the house with the next owners, and then y'all came into possession of the house?
Right. I mean, there were loud bangs in the house that I wasn't able to debunk. I have baseboard heat in my house, and the baseboard heat that we have, it's pretty fluid. I drain the lines every year. There's no banging. There's no air in the lines, and the bang that would take place, it would shake the house. Wow. And they said they believed that it was one of the young men banging his head off the wall downstairs, off one of the poles in the basement, which was made me very uncomfortable. On all the bedroom doors upstairs, there were locks on the outside, bolt locks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the previous owners decided, I guess, never to take them off. They were just too lazy, and there were bolt locks on the outside. Who the hell has bolt locks on the outside of a door of a bedroom?
Wow.
This is basically a prison.
Right. And, he said that the man actually was terrified of my son. That's why they broke his ball so much. He said, my son's heart